that. Happy New Year to you.
Blwyddyn newydd dda. And of course, we get to say it again properly because, of course, residents in Wales and the Gwaun Valley in particular
Ah,
celebrated New Year's Day again yesterday, didn't they?
that's right. I had a New Year's Day message from my auntie who's living there. So that's wonderful.
I just one of those little bits of heritage and tradition that is truly Welsh. That's ours.
That's right. It's not even Welsh. It's Cwm Gwaun. It's really, really localized.
It is, and I love the fact that it's right here, north of our county, and long may that continue. Did you have any visits from the Mary Lloyd over the last couple of weeks?
Well, I know it's been out and about, and my husband did attend some pub festival, Mary Lloyd thing, but I was snowed under, so I wasn't able to attend. But he said it was quite marvelous. That's another great tradition, isn't it, for the new year?
It is. So you managed to avoid the rap battle in Gymraeg with the Mary Lloyd. Of course, last time we were talking, you were getting ready to shoot off to Spain to sign this memorandum of understanding between regions in Spain. How was that?
Well, it's fascinating. There's always been a very close connection between parts of Spain, particularly those with minority languages. So, Catalonia and also the Basque Country. And you heard Barcelona there by Freddie Mercury. I'm a massive Queen fan, as you know, but Barcelona, it's a really fantastic place. Got a lot of energy. But also, we go back a long way, the relationship between Wales and the Basque Country and Catalonia. A lot of people from Wales went over to fight in the Civil War. And it was really interesting, particularly in the Basque Country. A lot of children came over from the Basque Country. They were being bombed to smithereens in 1937, and they evacuated the children. And about 57 of them came to Wales, specifically to Caerleon near Newport. They were all football mad, and the relationship between Newport County Football Club and this huge, massive club in Bilbao has continued to this day, which is wonderful.
The links and relationships and where they come from, it's quite fascinating, isn't it? And yeah, well, hopefully you got a lot out of that trip yourself.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And, what was great and what's important, of course, is to build the economic links. And one of the things I was able to do was to go and visit a port where they're assembling all of the massive pylons for offshore renewable wind. And that's really interesting. And you may have heard today, Tom, that there's been an announcement this morning that they've got these contract for difference, which basically means a massive subsidy to enable those projects to go ahead. We haven't heard about the Pembrokeshire ones yet, but the point is it's another piece in that jigsaw that you talk about, Tom. Getting those jobs into Pembrokeshire is crucial. We're training people up already. Everything is moving in the right direction.
Yeah, now we've been talking about this for the best part of 2 years. I think we met down at the in Port of Pembroke when we first talked about it and how the infrastructure was being put there. The Port of Milford the Port of Milford Haven. All these foundations are being put in place. There's a new slipway for testing, new infrastructure, new engineering. And we remember talking back then, we were like, when do we start going to see these things come to fruition for actual impacting lives right here in Pembrokeshire? Now, this is North Wales. However, we've got the capabilities here. So surely it's just a matter of time now.
Yeah, so the North Wales ones, that they'll be very relieved that they can get going. Those are what they call fixed offshore wind. So they're actually in the sea, fixed to the sea. The thing that's super exciting in the Celtic Sea is that we'd be the first to go for floating offshore wind, and there's a lot of interest in that. It is much further away, if I'm honest, so we can build and start putting together some of the offshore wind that's fixed first before going on to that floating offshore stuff.
Well, it's very exciting, and this is a wonderful pledge for these subsidies to make sure that this infrastructure is something that's it's going to happen, and it's just a matter of when. And we'll talk about how has this. We're going to jump around a little bit. How has this come about then? These subsidies into these offshore wind farms. Tell us a little bit more about the politics and the economics that go into it.
Well, the first thing to realize, as everybody does, is that energy prices are really high still, right? They've come down a bit, thankfully, and UK Labour government's going to put £150 into people to help people pay for their bills this year. But the fact is, you know, what happens in places like Russia impacts on how much we pay for our energy. So what we've got to do is to get to a place where we're not dependent on what happens elsewhere. And so for that to happen, we've got to start producing our own energy. And we've got our own energy. We've just got to actually get in there and start to exploit it. So you need a lot of investment, and you need a long-term plan to make this happen. And you've got to stick the course. And that's the secret here. You know, this is massive investment. One of the things I was able to do in the Basque Country was to go and speak to a company who were making these, really shipping these things out, building these massive structures that will be put into the sea. They're then exported and put onto these massive boats that just come across the Basque Sea and you know are brought to the United Kingdom. So I was trying to convince them, do you know what? Why don't you start putting these together in Wales? We've got massive ports that you can use. And that obviously creates jobs. And that's my interest. You know, the kind of jobs we're talking about here, lots of welding jobs and things. And this is kind of super sophisticated welding as well. And of course, Pembrokeshire College is training people up for that right now. So real opportunities in particular for young people. And that's exactly where we're trying to get to. But the point is that this would be good news for people in Wales, because it would mean ultimately that our bills would come down. Now, to make that happen, we have got to build the infrastructure. And, you know, a lot of people are uncomfortable about the infrastructure. But if we don't, you know, we will get to a situation where it'd be difficult for us to really have the energy that we need in future. You know, in Wales, we reckon we're going to be using 3 times as much electricity by 2050 as we do today. As our cars go electric, you know, we all using more digital and stuff, all of that stuff. AI takes up a lot of energy. All of those things, you're going to have to create more energy. And we've got to play our part in that. And we've got great ambitions in Wales to do that.
Yeah, and there's one thing having the hard infrastructure for the actual pylons and the wind farms. You just mentioned their AI. The last towards the end of last year, talking about how Wales is committing to AI. Not only are you putting infrastructure for AI and technology in place, but there's now a fund to actually help utilize it.
Yeah, which is great news, and particularly for small businesses and businesses across Wales. And that's what we're really interested in doing, is making sure that they know that that funding is available, because our productivity in some of our companies is not perhaps where it should be. And AI can help some of that. You can release people to get on with more interesting parts of their job. Because what we're not interested in seeing, of course, is machines to take over from people, but to help people. And but in order to do that, we need to know how to use it to the best of our ability. So, you know, this is an example of us actually really creating jobs. And we've supported 46,000 jobs across Wales, businesses to start and grow. And in Pembrokeshire, you know, alone, we've helped 2,300 people in businesses across Pembrokeshire and Ceredigion. And that's amazing. Almost 2,000 jobs created and supported by the Welsh Government. So these aren't statistics. These are people's lives. These are the way people actually manage to pay their bills. And that doesn't happen unless we get involved. We've got an example where I live in Cara Moor, St David's. That's a community-owned seaweed company. I'm sure you're familiar with that, Tom.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got the hair syrup company that started in Pembrokeshire. That's now selling globally. And these sort of stories matter, I think, because they show what's possible if you get the right support. So you might have heard about the Night Under Canvas,
Yes.
and that's adapting and innovating whilst keeping Pembrokeshire special. All of them have been supported by the Welsh Labour government. So that's great news.
That is marvelous, and it shows that if you've got an idea, you've got that spirit, and you want to make something happen, there is support out there for you. It's just finding it. And conversely, my background's in the third sector and supporting people that aren't in a position to work. You're also putting a call out to make sure that people are getting what they're entitled to already, whilst not being able to work.
That's right. But it's not just those who are not able to work. There are lots of people in work entitled to lots of benefits that they don't claim. So the money is there, it's sitting there ready for you to pick up, but people are not picking it up. And this runs into literally billions of pounds in Wales. So why wouldn't we help people to pick up the funding that they are entitled to? And I'm particularly concerned, older people, they're entitled to this money. Lots of them have paid into the system. And why shouldn't they get a little bit of it back? Of course, we need to be there to support people also who are vulnerable, who maybe can't contribute in the way that other people contribute. But that's also something where I think it's important that we give a helping hand, and there is support. And what we've done in the Welsh Government is to create a system where people know that they can go and get that support for accessing the money they're entitled to. So the Citizens Advice Bureau, of course, is excellent at this, and they will help people point the way to getting the support where they need.
Yeah, Citizens Advice, they are independent. They're not there to try and catch you out or to save anyone pennies. They are there to maximise your income using systems that are already in place, as Eluned is referencing there. That's my background to make sure that people are getting what they need. It's you've been back to work after a couple of weeks off. First Minister's questions. There was a question on community radio. Thank you very much for mentioning us in the chamber there. What's it like being back to the day job after a couple of days in Spain?
Well, it was great to have a bit of a break over Christmas. It was good to be able to go and promote Wales abroad, but we've got to get on now with the day job. And what we're interested in doing is trying to help people with a practical, everyday cost of living. And so, Welsh Labour has now announced our first policy pledge for the election. We're going to have a £2 bus fare cap. Now, all the pensioners listening, anyone over 60 will know they get their free bus pass. You don't get that in England. And also, if you're young, you get bus fares for £1. But we want to extend that now because actually we know people are struggling. So just give you an example. If you want to go from Narberth to Haverfordwest, a bus ticket, return bus ticket can cost £5.70. Now, in future, that would cost £4 if Labour get in next time. So that's saving about 30% of your money. That might not sound huge on its own, but if you're a commuter, that really, really adds up. The key thing to remember, though, is that this doesn't come alone, because I'm very aware that people in Pembrokeshire go, we haven't got any buses near us. We are now also promising to introduce 100 new bus routes, and we'll be asking the public to help us to determine where those bus routes should be. So real opportunities for rural areas to say, we need more support. We need to get a bus route in this particular area. And the reason we weren't able to do it before now is the law didn't allow us to. We've now changed the law, and now we're able to do this.
The election is in May. It's both still far away, but also just around the corner. And in the run up to that, as a community radio station, as noted in the chamber, we will be getting the different views as to different parties through our Pure Politics platform that we have here. But there's something that you said recently, because the polls came out yesterday. Have a look and see whether or not you agree with them. And you were stating the distinction between politics in Wales and politics in England and the UK. You just said there, they don't have that in England. What is this distinction? Do you think it causes confusion in the run-up to this election?
Look, I actually think a lot of people in Wales are quite, they're sophisticated. They get it. They get that, in particular after COVID, that the Welsh government runs a lot of things that they might have thought before was the UK government. And so, but we've always been different. Since devolution started, the whole point it was we're trying to respond to what's right in our communities. We do things slightly differently. So, for example, in the past, even when Labour was in power under Tony Blair, they went down a route of kind of having a competing market in the NHS. And we said, we're not having that. We're not doing that. We want to work together. We don't want the market to be used as a way of organising the NHS in Wales. Same thing with schools. We embarked on a massive school building exercise. We've announced another 20 million this week, and you'll know in Pembrokeshire that already lots of schools have been built. In England, what they did is to get the private sector to build those, but then they're in hock to the private sector for years and years and years. And of course, interest rates go up. We didn't want to play that game. So we do things differently in Wales, and we'll continue to do that. Rhodri Morgan called it the clear red water, distinguish us. I'm calling it the red Welsh way. And we do things differently. We will always stick to those kind of principles that Aneurin and Bevan set out, the values of fairness. And those are absolutely fundamental to who we are in Wales. So we'll always be different because we're a different country. What's right for Pembrokeshire as well is different from what's right for Newport in the east. So it is important for us to reflect what's right for our communities, and that's what devolution does for you. And it's right, therefore, for us to be able to distinguish Welsh Labour from Labour.
Thank you very much for doing that. And we'll be, as I said, we'll be increasing our coverage of the upcoming election very soon. It's going to be a little bit different to how we've ever done it before. There's more seats in the Senedd coming up. So it's an exciting time for us politicos here in Pembrokeshire and throughout Wales, which is very exciting. How's the next 7 days looking for you?
Well, very, very busy. So lots going on. I'll be coming home on the weekend to do a bit of campaigning. So that'll be interesting, and going, I hope, to a school and to visit some other organisations and businesses while I'm there. Very keen to make sure that people recognise the fact that there are jobs that we've created. So this week is a jobs theme. So, for example, the Development Bank of Wales, this is something we've set up. It's completely different. Again, they don't have this in England. And they've spent £1 billion. We've said, you go and spend that over the course of a number of years and loan it out to people. So the banks might not want to lend you money, but you know what? We've got this development bank who take a slightly bigger risk, and that's helped to create 1,800 jobs in Pembrokeshire and Ceredigion, 54 million just in our area, and that's great. So it's jobs that are important. Of course, skills are absolutely crucial, so making sure we promote that as well. So all of those things are crucial. There'll be a lot more to come next week, though, but really making sure people understand that £2 bus fare will be available to them if Labour gets elected after the next election. That's what I'll be promoting on the weekend.
Thank you very much. Looking forward to hearing how that all goes, and the actual things that are happening on the ground in the run-up to the election as well in the meantime. Eluned Morgan, thank you so much for joining us. Diolch yn fawr iawn. We had Barcelona to reminisce on your time away in Spain and the learning and you've brought back with that. What song have you got for us coming up in a few moments' time?
Hang on, let me remind myself what it was.
It's a month. There's a clue.
Oh, September. Love it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's on the way
this will make you pop, won't it?
It will. Thank you so much for joining us. Diolch yn fawr iawn. Have a great working week, and we look forward to catching up next week.
Diolch yn fawr. Bye-bye.
Wonderful Wednesday, sponsored by Price and Calway Solicitors, celebrating